The competency-based learning and social emotional learning and self-directed schooling and all of the mindsets and models, they all seem to assume that teachers all must recognize that there's an issue where all of these learning models and methods and methodologies and mindsets are going to solve these problems that we assume teachers are experiencing. And as a classroom teacher, there are some issues that I think competency-based learning can solve. There are other issues that social emotional learning can solve. There are other issues that metacognition and self-directed schooling, agile mindsets, growth mindsets, all of these things can solve a lot of the issues that I experienced as a classroom teacher. And I think a lot of teachers, they don't see the issues that these mindsets and models can provide solutions for. And I think when we introduce a solution to a problem that hasn't been identified, I think we trip ourselves. We put up barriers for ourselves that when we introduce an idea, a solution to a problem that hasn't been identified as a problem, um, it presents the solution as yet another problem. And it creates a narrative, a social narrative that creates in people a resistance to not only the model as a solution, um, but in identifying the problems themselves. Seeing that the posed solutions are being thrown around so easily to solve this problem, to solve that problem. It makes it seem like there are all of these problems, but any given teacher on any given day is only experiencing one issue or another. So seeing all of these consultants and conference leaders and education leaders coming in with new ideas year in and year out, I can see how teachers get tired of hearing the next new thing that's going to fix education, because that's how it's perceived, especially to teachers who don't really see any issues that they can't already solve with the traditional practices and traditional approaches that they've been putting in place, that they experienced as a child and seem to be working just fine today. So how do you talk to teachers who have that kind of mindset towards all of these ideas that, honestly, when you really take a good look at them, yes, they can improve certain aspects of the education system, each solution with its own, playing its own part in that. um, and I think how you address teachers as humans, as people who are so in tune with behaviors and approaches and beliefs that, honestly, again, we assume teachers see these things as issues, as problems, but they don't. And when you have teachers who don't see these things as problems, who don't see traditional practices as, the idea that a teacher is going to tell a student what to do, when to do it, how to do it, and in some cases, why to do it, because they don't trust that the student will ever be in a position and an age at a developmental stage where they can decide what, when, how, and why they can learn. You get that kind of mindset in the classroom, and yeah, they're going to get those students to learn. They will bait with the carrot, they will threaten with the stick, and they will get those students through their course and taking those tests with a passable score. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's the goal, if that's the belief in the practice that you experienced and turned out fine and are now seeing that it's working just fine with the students in your classrooms. But I think that's where we get into the conversation of what are the issues in education and how do we pose these issues and frame them in a way that more teachers seem to recognize that there are better ways to do things, that the old ways aren't necessarily wrong or ineffective, but rather there are more effective ways to do those things. And, defining for teachers what, when, how, and why, how we get teachers to adopt this new mindset for what they need to do, when, how, and why, letting the teachers take ownership of that by introducing it in a way that they can make those decisions and have that autonomy and ownership, must mirror how we can get those teachers to then offer students that same degree of autonomy and ownership to decide what, when, how, and why they're going to learn for reasons beyond the carrot and the stick, because education is not a product to be sold. So just some thoughts this morning that I wanted to get, I don't know, out of my head, out of these four walls. So take them for whatever you think they're worth.